Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's still showing upcoming.
Yeah. It's only up out of your ass. Good thing you asked. Should be up now though. Well,
There it is.
Spotify listeners got that.
The hot take. I feel like John Picavich out here.
Shout out to our Spotify listeners. We still got quite a few. I'll check in on the numbers.
Yeah, you gotta share the numbers with me, man. I'm a numbers guy.
You know, because what's funny is that's how podcasting started. I don't know why you got that
What?
that static.
Yeah.
You hear it too?
Yeah, definitely.
It's only in that mic.
Oh, that's weird. Is there a bad chord? I don't know. Testing. I don't hear it now.
Yeah, I don't hear it now either.
Okay.
So just
something
don't
happened.
move the mic.
Don't move. This is your position for the night.
Don't move the mic.
Don't move the mic.
Yeah. No need for an intro song and stuff today. You are on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Just gave a special shout out to our Spotify listeners, but they bunch them together. Spotify, Apple, and it's like one or two more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Straight to it, like a shot of tequila. What is your favorite shot? If you have to take a shot, what is your go-to?
It's definitely tequila.
Okay, me too.
It's funny. Me and Ant was just talking about this. I like 1800 tequila, but it almost doesn't matter what kind of tequila. I just don't like bottom shelf. I'm not the biggest Patron guy. I hate Patron, but I'll take a cold shot of Patron.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But I wouldn't. It's not something I would buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only do shots like if I'm just caught up in the moment.
Yeah. It's for me now, definitely 1000% only a moment thing. I couldn't even tell you the last time I had shots, plural. Two or more. I mean, I know you know what plural is, but some of my listeners, I don't know.
I was dumbfounded for a moment. The last time I took a bunch of shots was the dreaded New Year's Eve with Carlton about 7 years ago. It turned out to be a legendary night.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was like literally bored at the house with Holland, like nothing to do. And I called Carlton. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He's, we're letting fireworks off in the yard. You want to come over? I'm like, cool. We go over there.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to him, and I went to Cancun that summer. And I was telling him, like, when I was in Cancun, I was just doing, like, shots. But like, it wasn't a shot after shot after shot. It was like, every once in a while, I just grab a shot. And I didn't get all bloated, and I kind of managed myself. And I had a good time. And he's like, oh, man, I didn't realize you do shots. So he's like, let's go inside and do some shots. And we got going. And he was refilling the shots like you would refill like an empty beer.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just knocking these things down. My daughter's with me. His neighbors are over. Kids are there. And we're out by the pool bar, and he's got a big projection screen up. And it's showing like, I don't know, Dick Clark thing or whatever. And in my shot-induced haze, I just kept insisting that he should put porn up there and project it to the neighborhood. And so we're carrying on. And so I don't remember doing this at all. But apparently one of his neighbors made a comment, and I had a water bottle, and I told her to shut up, and I threw the water bottle in her direction. But it got caught in the ceiling fan of the patio area.
Right.
So it like kind of like hosed her down. But I didn't realize this happened. At some point in drinking all these shots, I just remember going home and Holland driving. And when we got to the house, I thought everything's cool. Like, yeah, I'm a little drunk. Holland burst out of the car and burst into tears and ran in the house, like leaving me behind. Oh, God, that's a little dramatic reaction. What's going on? I go in, I go to bed. I get up the next morning and it's a very chilly reaction at the house. Nobody's talking to me. and I'm fighting off a hangover. And finally, Carlton calls in the afternoon. He's like, "Hey, do you remember throwing water on my neighbor?" I'm like, "Nah. Do you?" He goes, "Nah." But apparently you did. And so, like, we had to reconstruct the whole night. I guess, like, when I left, he went into his bedroom and projectile vomited everywhere.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Should have been, you could have said, "Hey, I was throwing holy water on you."
Everybody knows I'm an atheist, though. So that wouldn't have worked. It would have come off as insincere.
Oh, man.
No, so that's the last time I really hit it hard with the shots.
Yeah, you got to lay off the shots, man. Today we're going to be, it's NBA season, man. We're in the thick of things now. We're going to be talking some NBA stuff. What Shaq had to say about Curry after Curry's last big game here. Golden State is on a tear as well. Anthony Edwards, the next chapter in his situation here off the court. Shedeur Sanders, he's getting some feedback from various different media members and NFL scouts and owners. And then my favorite show that's out right now. I think Pink is watching it as well. Thinks it's a good show.
Yeah.
We'll get into that as well as a few other things as well that's trending and doing good out there in the atmosphere. Now, we're supposed to have Juan coming in a little while, and we're going to be talking a lot of basketball with him. Of course, he's like the basketball, what did you say, aficionado for Orlando, whatever?
Guru. I like guru.
The basketball guru.
Yeah.
Seminole high school basketball team is headed to the state championship. We'll talk about that with Juan, with some NBA stuff and stuff like that. Now, I didn't know you were opening up with story time, but I was planning on opening it up with story time myself since it's been a while.
Well, don't let me put you off your game.
And I usually do the stories at the end. Okay, and this story should go at the end. It's a tad bit explicit. Okay,
it's my favorite kind of story.
So if you have any kids, you may want to, whatever, hide them or mute it.
Early bedtime.
Okay.
Bubba, if you have a kid, are you going to be like a bedtime Nazi?
I'll let the mom handle all that
stuff.
Man. I handle the big stuff.
Thought rest was a big thing for the youth.
Didn't you say you let him go to sleep, whatever?
Hell yeah.
All right, that's got to be my disposition.
You could follow in my footsteps.
You did quite well.
We haven't raised any idiots.
Yeah, again, the funny thing about my stories is that they are actually like true. And this one's going to be a little tad bit hard to believe. But it's true. Just like last week we had Vibe Starters. Shout out to you, Pink, wearing the shirt. Yeah, I always tell people, Pink, he really supports and wears all of these folks' shirts and stuff, man.
Yeah. So keep sending me free ones. Extra large.
You purchase as well.
I do.
He said my story last week was fake about the girl turning around and said, "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" But that is a 1,000% true story. Now this one, I've been sitting on for a while, pause. And listen, I was dealing with this girl, the same girl that did the Grandma D pictures.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stories and many stories in between.
So for context, was this story you're about to tell before or after?
Before. Yeah, this is before. This is while we were dating and in the thick of things.
When things were good.
When things were good.
Before they went horribly wrong.
When things were good. Okay. Now, if you go on Facebook, I have a lot of my older pictures up, and I'm going to take my glasses off here. Okay. Anybody that knows me from a long time ago, there's a thing that runs on my mom's side of the family, which is lazy eye, right? Well, if you look at me, I have two lazy eyes, all right?
I never noticed.
I have two lazy eyes. But I really originally only had one lazy eye. That's the thing that runs through the family, okay? I had one lazy eye. Now I have two. Why is that? Uh-oh, you moved it. Okay, there you go. So why is that the case? Okay? All right. I'm dealing with the same crazy girl that I didn't know was crazy at this time because everything is good. Okay. We're having really good, intercourse at this time. Like I said, I hate to do this at the top of the show, but it's just what it is. Okay.
What position?
It was all positions.
Really?
But in this particular moment, okay, in the middle of things.
Bubba's holding out like a World War II soldier on Rhode Island.
It's YouTube, but the YouTube will take your stuff down, man. So I'm trying to choose my words wisely here, okay? In the middle of things, I decide to switch it up a little bit, and in between, what I'm trying to say here, in between intercourse, okay, I went and wanted to, eat fine cuisine at this time, okay?
Okay.
Now, I have this thing here where what I like to do while doing that, okay? All right, you have to read my book to get details, and maybe you can use it on your partner.
Does this involve the back door?
No, it does not involve the back door. Okay. While doing that, okay, she starts squirting, which was the first time I had ever experienced that, right?
Yeah. Could be a bit shocking.
It was very shocking because it went right in my unlazy eye. This is 1,000% true story, man. 1,000% true story. Now, naturally, I go, oh, shit, what the fuck?
Seriously?
Yeah, man.
Seriously?
This is in like the pulp shit of my eye. Yeah. Seriously. It didn't go anywhere else. You know what I'm saying?
A single
yeah. It's like a fountain. You understand?
But it can't be a fountain. Only hit the narrow eye.
Man, listen.
Come on,
yeah,
man.
It's a true story.
It was like a laser guided story.
No, seriously. Okay. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And okay. She's like, oh, this doesn't normally happen, and this and that. But I'm like seriously hurting. I have to go to the hospital.
No way.
Yeah, man.
Hell no.
Yes, man. I can't see.
You didn't rinse the eye, or?
I mean, of course you try all of that, but it's like it's really like in there. Okay. Go to the hospital, and basically all they do is a form of that. Really, just a lot.
That's
more.
Why you're an idiot.
That's
why you do not go to the hospital.
They tell our community when something's wrong, you have to go check yourself out. Get checked out.
Stop buying into that shit. I mean, if you are like bleeding profusely, if you have a broken bone, if you're about to give birth to a child, or you're passed out near dead, go to the emergency room. Short of that, figure it out.
Listen.
Because all they're going to do is charge you a couple grand.
Yeah, they charge
to
you.
Figure it out.
Yeah, a few hundred, but
okay.
Yeah.
You went with the cash pay option?
I never paid that, by the way. It's on my credit. So, yeah.
What hospital did you go to?
I was staying in Rosemont at the time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so that happens, right? And then we go there, and then from that point on.
Did you guys get dressed to go to the?
From that, I needed help getting dressed. I couldn't see. From that point on, man, I had a second lazy eye. That is a true story.
So you never truly recovered?
No, never truly recovered.
Have you encountered a squirter since?
Yeah, one. But one other.
Did you get a little nervous?
I was prepared.
What you wear? Goggles? Like
I go in with goggles now.
All right, ladies. Bubba is the Kurt Rambis of coochie eating. No way.
No, seriously,
please
man.
tell me you don't really wear goggles with you.
No. That is the only that's a joke. That is a joke. But it didn't.
Only
the
part
second
of the story that wasn't true.
The second time it didn't go in my eye.
Okay,
that is the thing. But yeah, it's so random.
Dude, I'm shocked that you went to the emergency room with jizz in your eye. I mean, come on.
Is it jizz? Nobody really knows what it is.
I've heard it's urine.
Yeah, so I got pissed on, man.
Right in the eye.
Right in the kisser. You got it, like, you know. Come on, man. You get pissed in the eye, you got to go to the hospital.
No, you don't. Just go get some eye drops.
Hospital or the police?
Go to
What are the two?
Go to CVS or Walgreens. Come on, dude.
I'm a Walgreens guy.
All right, that's fine.
I love
You
Walgreens.
could have gotten eye drops there and been fine, and had better credit. That's awesome, man.
But I have a couple of people, man.
So you're in that. You remember that show? Sex Sent Me to the ER.
There you go.
You have your own episode.
There you go.
That's awesome.
There you
now
go,
you're a
man.
celebrity.
There you go. I challenge people, man, because people don't don't think these stories are true. I challenge you. Go and look at my older pictures. And when we redo the clip and put it up, I'll show you. You don't have to go and research. And yeah, man, I only had one lazy eye.
So, like, you go to the emergency room and the girl's with you.
Yeah.
Like, what are you telling triage? Like, I want the words, man. What are we saying?
It was a long time ago.
Oh,
But
God.
I don't know. But you don't, she's like embarrassed.
Of course,
super
that's why
embarrassed.
it's interesting what you had to say.
You know what I'm saying? And but it's so hard to explain because especially when you don't know what it is. But you just say like, hey, we were having intercourse and stuff got in my eye. It's kind of what you say.
I was eating this woman's pussy. Whether you believe it or not, she's a squirter. Just make it all about her and bring out like maximum embarrassment.
Oh man,
That's the way to handle that, Bubba. For future reference, if you're going to be a vagina and go to the ER.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that.
Eating coochie is dangerous.
For you. That's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, you're still on the bench. All right. What did Juan say? Juan texted me. He said, "Be there in 15." Okay,
right,
that was 5 minutes ago, so it'll be in 10. All right, moving along here. Moving along here. Let's get. I want to say some of the really good basketball stuff for Juan. And even if we have to double, I still want Juan's. I still want his perspective.
Yeah.
So first here, let's go to. Let's get this out of the way. It's not that it's the most pressing, but I just found this really interesting because we talked about the Ant Edwards thing a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
From a standpoint of we didn't know, like he had a child from this lady and this and that, and sort of the issues they were having back and forth. They were on social media. The next chapter in
This is the same girl that was.
This is the same girl, right? Or older woman, if you will. And
how old is she?
I'll have to look it back up and see.
Okay.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. Scratch the last part of that. Okay. Now, basically, Ant filed a motion, right, with the court. Is that the right way to say that there? And are you familiar with this story at all?
I am familiar with it. I mean, it could have been filing a motion, but I think you have to file like an action first, and then you can file a motion within the action.
Yeah, and they had it here. So he filed a motion declaring that he wants no part in visitation or custody of his 4-month-old daughter with 37-year-old. Okay, Aisha. Okay, so he's 23. She'll be 38 this year. Okay.
Where do you think he found her?
Yeah, the old folks home. So listen,
you're probably her age.
So, and now I remember 100%. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about he told her in a text message that he wanted to have her
abortion.
Have an abortion.
And she obviously didn't.
Didn't, and she ended up having a child. Now he filed the motion saying, I don't want visitation. I just want to pay child support and be done with it.
Right.
And my initial thoughts on this, because there's tons of comments on social media, and they're saying different things. My thing is this. The one thing that I feel like my generation and my community did really well is we did away with deadbeat dads. Now, that's saying, when I say that, I'm saying for the most part. Of course, you're gonna have. Of course, you're gonna have idiots.
What I'm saying is, at least partially.
Of course, you're gonna have idiots across whatever. But for the most part, we did, man. We eradicated deadbeat dads and became a part. And a lot of that had to do with what we experienced growing up, because we grew up we were crack babies. Our parents were on drugs or in jail from either using drugs or selling drugs. We're 80s babies. So, and a lot of our fathers weren't in our lives. So like what they said, what my generation said was, we're going to be different and we're going to be in our child's lives. And that was sort of like a movement. And that's one thing. We did a lot of things wrong in his generation, but that's one thing I feel like we did right. Now, along the lines, at the past generations, we're getting more and more away from that. And the excuse they mostly use is like, oh, my baby mama. There was a viral song for whatever 2 to 3 years ago. Time flies, I'm going to be a little longer. And it was like, my baby mama tripping. She won't let me see my son. And the whole song was about how he can't be in his child's life because his baby mama won't allow her to. And that's bullshit, because you have to you're young enough and should be smart enough to understand how to utilize the court system if that's what you guys are going through in order to get visitation for your child. If that's what it comes down to, you have all full parental rights to do that. Okay, you just have to take the time and the effort to do it
and the money.
Yeah. But there's other ways even around that. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be that. You're gonna need that anyway to pay child support. But to get visitation for your child, that's not necessarily the case. To spend a bunch of money. Now, my thing on Anthony Edwards, he does have the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's agreeing to pay child support. But I think this is what I call fuckboy mentality, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you decided to sleep with this old lady, man, with no condom, okay? And then you took it a step further and decided to nut in her. Now, if something where you was jacking off in a sock and then she took the sock and went to the doctor and got inseminated and all that, all right, man, you got me, okay? All right, but you went through the act. That's not the case. You went through the act, had sex with this lady. You took the next step and had your goodies and came inside this lady, okay? Now it's time to play the part, okay? This lady had a child. It's your child. You know it's your child. All of that part is done. You have to man up and be in this child's life, and you're a fucking NBA superstar. And the last thing I'll say is we left last season, and during last season, we thought Anthony Edwards was the next Michael Jordan, when this whole time, he's really the next Karl Malone. Okay?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. I thought about this all the way through. I know what you're going to say. Karl Malone slept with an underage girl and got a pregnant, didn't want to be in the child's life. He did. Anthony Edwards, they're in the same club, just they're in a different line for drinks, okay? Because instead of that, he just went and knocked up an older lady, and it's just, you know what I mean, and wasn't and decided not to be a part of his child's life, okay? It's a slightly different circumstances, but it's the same person, okay? You made up the same DNA.
You made up the same DNA. No, I agree with you. I mean, this is I can't. Just personally, I cannot imagine making that decision. That you have a child that's your child biologically, and you're saying, I don't want anything to do with you. That's crazy to me. Like, even if you're going to do the financial support thing, but the being in their life, how many kids, and people have been in a situation where they're, a parent has left them or chose not to be involved with them, or perhaps given them up for adoption. That leaves that person with an entire lifetime of why.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a person, I'm a baby, I grow to be an adult, and this person who's my biological parent made a decision to say, I don't want to be around you. Like, that is scarring, destructive behavior. And to me, it's unacceptable. It's really shameful and despicable that he would make that decision.
No, 1,000%. Now, she responded today or yesterday and said, everybody's stressing how kids need a father. No, kids need good fathers. And if one's intentions are not to be such, then his existence is pointless anyway. Moving right along. And that's her, that's her, whatever, doing the thing. But
I get where she's coming from, but I also think she's being a little short-sighted on it. Now, in my mind, if you have a parent that is abusive, if you have a parent that cannot control their vices, if it's drugs or alcohol, and they're actually a threat to the peace and growth and development of the child, that statement
That's the
applies.
Comment. Okay.
I don't think it applies here. I do think she's probably trying to make the most of what's a bad decision on the part of Anthony Edwards' part. She's given no choice in this. Like, if he's saying, I'm not going to be involved other than to cut you a check, like, she has to make the most of it. She's that child's only real parent at this point.
Yeah.
And you got to do what you got to do to make that child's life the best, and I hope she does that. But I don't 100% agree with the statement, because I think the statement, to me, applies to somebody that's literally in active danger to the child's life and existence and development.
And what a lot of people are saying on social media, which I just think is nuts, but they're saying like, oh, well, her whole plan from the beginning was to trap him, and it's his decision, and it's okay for him to make the decision to not want to be in the child's life because he didn't want the baby to begin with. You know, all of that is just horse shit. It's horse manure served on a platter. Like you know what I'm saying? You know, it takes two to tango. No matter if that was her plan from the beginning, no, it doesn't matter. He took the steps. He should have seen that. If that is the case, which we don't know, if that is the case, he should have seen that coming from a mile away. You know, he has other children from other mothers. You need to learn from that. You know what I mean?
That's another thing. It's like that I have a big issue with. You know, we could say that you're 22, 23 years old when these events are happening and you're a young person. But it's not a good enough excuse.
It's not.
You know, when you come up through, you know, the sports stardom, or, you know, even entertainment stardom or whatever, you have to and do mature in a different way than other kids and your age, other peers. That's part of the gig, you know, and you have resources around you. You know, you have a team that drafted you and put millions into you. You have teammates and things like that have, you know, been through these situations before, and you're basically just proceeding like an idiot to put yourselves in these situations, and to do it multiple times. Yeah. You know, if it happens to you once, like, shame on you know, but if it happens to, you know, to multiple, it's shame on you. What the hell are you thinking? You can't be this naive as you navigate through life, you know, as a person that has some money and some stardom. Like, Facts. You are a target for people to do stuff. And it doesn't even have to be like 100% like, you know, I would never talk to this person but for the fact I think I can squeeze them for millions of dollars by getting pregnant. It doesn't even have to be that dramatic. It's just the thing. There's no excuse for having multiple kids in the same window of time with multiple women. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but at least be Tyreek Hill. You know, at least be whatever. Like you know, don't be the guy that's just out front. Now listen, he has plenty of time to change his mind. The baby is 4 months old. We saw in the picture, I think they said.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. So, you know, he has plenty of time to have a change of heart, and hopefully he does, and is a part of this child's life. But as things change right now, like we're saying, that's just ludicrous and nuts. And he's a guy that he's came out and said he doesn't want to be the face of the league, but he can't be the face of the league if he's going to continue doing things like this.
He's done it to himself, because like, at this point last year, he was all in. And he was doing everything right. And since the season ended, you know, he just has not made many good decisions at all. You know, on the court or off. Yeah. Hey, I mean, he's playing pretty well.
Yeah. I mean,
but like, again, it just has not gone well for him, and he's kind of, you know, showing this is not the way to go. I mean, it does speak to like the other LeBron thing about like who would want to be the face because of the criticism and this and that, and that's a different conversation. It's completely understandable, but it truly is one of the things that, you know, whether you like LeBron or not, you have to applaud his handling of his career and just how he is, you know, stayed out of negativity and stayed out of these types of scandals and stupidity, you know, for 20 plus years here being in the spotlight. It's not easy. Because there are people that that want to take
vultures.
you for vultures,
Yeah, man,
and all that
at every stop.
And there is there is going to be constant negative noise for all that you're accomplishing. There's always going to be a negative public concert basically against you.
Yeah.
And you have to get comfortable with that. So it's not affecting you and tearing you apart. And there's a lot of athletes, a lot of guys who've had careers that maybe started out okay, but when they talk later in life, that pressure, that spotlight, at the end of the day, they couldn't handle.
Yeah.
They were too impacted by the things that were being said about them and said around them that it affected ultimately their performance in the profession and then the viability of their career.
100%. Come on up, Juan.
Yeah.
And to piggyback what you're saying, because the LeBron comments did come out mid last week or whatever. So there being that much involved with the face of the league and saying that it's because of, social media, all these different platforms, including on the bench, right? How did you take that when LeBron said, in order to be the reason why guys don't want to be the face of the league, like you just said, is because of the negative criticism that you have to take on a daily basis, the punishment. What was your take on that?
I understood it.
Yeah.
I got what he meant completely. And I think that there's a price you have to pay to be in the spotlight, and I could see why certain players would want to not be the closest guy to the sun and be a little bit removed from that. And it's going to give you a more freedom, more normalcy to your life. I mean, if you think about it, for 20 plus years, LeBron, okay, I mean, he has to perform at a crazy high level on the court for all of this to matter. He has to constantly listen to critiques of everything about him, his personal life, his decision making on the court, even stuff that's just not true. It's always there. And he simultaneously can't do normal things. He can't just roll out to McDonald's. I mean, him appearing at a McDonald's, people will get all worked up and do various things. Everywhere he goes, there's cameras. There's a chance that it could turn into not a riot, but a kind of a messy scene. That's his entire life. That's an incredibly crazy thing to be a part of, and it's been sustained for 20 plus years. My guy Mbappe earlier this season, he had there was alleged sexual assault allegation against him, and one of the things a couple people that are closer to him said is I really don't think that happened because he's never alone. Mm-hmm. He's 25, 26 years old, and for multiple years now, he doesn't do anything alone. Yeah. He has to have people for that very reason. Sometimes it's personal protection. If somebody wants to get too close or be obnoxious, but other times it's simply to have an accountable witness of something happened or didn't happen.
I never looked at it that way.
You have to look at it in that sense that it's if he's to, and I'm again, he's a human being. I'm sure he probably has intimate moments with people, whatever. But I'm saying you have to be mindful that if you're, in an area or a space just by yourself with another person, who knows what they're going to say transpired in that space. And it's, to have somebody who's a witness, even if it's kind of from a slight remove, it becomes almost necessary in case somebody wants to make an allegation or a claim against you that's not true. And that's the reality of being a mega level star. It's not, a life that is easy in any way, And you could say, well, you guys make tons of money and this and that. But it's there's a cost to that. There's an expense to it.
Yeah. But to your point, you can make the same amount of money and be slightly removed by not being the face.
Yeah. I mean, that's
you know what I mean? Now if your game is loud, I don't think you have a choice other than than to be scrutinized at every point. I mean, Kevin Durant has never been the face of the league, but I think there's still enough criticism around him. He gets his fair share.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so I don't know if being the face of the league is that much of a difference as far as criticism than just your normal like superstar that is really good and performing well.
Yeah, but I also wanted to say the other point with the face of the league thing is that the face of the league is ultimately earned, and it's a guy that's the best guy, but also the guy that like wins titles and finishes seasons and those sorts of things. And Anthony Edwards is not doing that. Mm-hmm. And honestly, with the way he's conducting himself, it becomes a lot less likely, that he's gonna go down that path and be what LeBron has been, what Kobe was, what Jordan was, what Magic and Larry were. Like, that's the thing. You got to be a serial winner while being the best guy, top 2-3 guy in the league at any given moment over a significant stretch of time. That's the face of the league. It's really not anything short of that.
What you think, Juan?
I think it's a frivolous conversation, to be honest with you, because the face of the league is going to be Victor in due time, granted that he stays healthy, which we don't know if
that'll happen.
If that'll happen, but the game has changed. Like back in the Jordan, in the early LeBron days, you wanted to be that because it maximizes your revenue. But now these guys are making so much money independently of that. It's like, what really is the benefit of that? A few extra $1 million, but these guys have so much money anyway. Like the game has changed in terms of that. And again, can you handle the scrutiny? Like, I think Tatum is built for handling the scrutiny. Like, he's the most disrespected superstar I think I've ever seen.
He has been handling it.
And
we just talked about that.
He handles it. He handles it really well, and he just keeps winning and putting up numbers. Now, I don't think he'll ever be the MVP because of what Jokic is doing, and I think as his career progresses, granted that he stays with Boston, which I don't see any reason he wouldn't. Their end goal is to be the last one standing, and they certainly have the infrastructure to keep doing that as time goes along. So
for the foreseeable future.
No,
that's a great point. And and we talked about Tatum. The MVP thing, what's funny is SGA is probably going to win it this year.
I don't know, man.
I know
what
Jokic's numbers.
What Jokic is doing is just absolutely incredible.
Like, the problem with the SGA, I will put a considerable amount of money that he's going to win it because he could have won it theoretically last year. And with them being the number one seed again and his numbers being slightly better, they're going to give it to him. Now, that being said, Jokic's numbers are nuts, but his team has been relatively healthy all year. And
have they though? Aaron Gordon's been out.
That's relatively, like compared to other teams where stars are out for months. You know what I mean? That's why I say relatively. And whatever, they haven't reached the heights that OKC has had. The Lakers have beat them in big spots. Like that. That's going to matter in MVP now, but. That's not my main point. My main point is I never see Tatum winning the MVP. It's not just about this year. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see him ever winning the MVP.
Yeah,
and I think you have to have that to be a face of the league.
So Tatum's his self-described mantra is like Kobe. And how many MVPs did Kobe win? One. Right. And nothing against Tatum. Tatum is going to be a historically great player, but he's also playing in the same era as Jokic. Playing in the same era as Embiid, SGA, and I don't know that because his team is so strong, I don't know that that's going to convince voters to vote for him. when it comes down to it, because again, his numbers are good, but Jokic's numbers are like video game numbers.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and
like,
SGA averages 32, 33 points a game.
Yeah, Tatum's never had a ridiculous statistical season. It's always excellent, but it's never one of those seasons that you're like, holy crap. And honestly, I mean, he's not an old player by any means, but I don't think there's an expectation that suddenly changes in terms of his statistical output, particularly being part of a good team. That it's not necessary that he do all that. And so I think he's never going to give you that crazy statistical season that's just like, we have to decorate this, we have to honor this. And then the Celtics, the general perception is they are a strong, balanced team that he leads along with Jaylen Brown. That's not really good for MVP stuff.
Yeah, and the narrative, if you remember at the end of last season, the narrative was Jaylen Brown is the best player on the Celtics. He was a
massive proponent of that.
Which, I mean, I will politely disagree. Like, the glaring difference in Jaylen Brown's game is he still can't dribble with his left hand, but he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, I'll say this. Tatum is the better player. Brown had a better season. And
yeah,
that's
he won
what,
the Finals MVP.
And that's what he won the Finals MVP. He won playoffs MVP. What the Larry Bird thing.
Jaylen Brown changed the course
and he
of
was the better,
NBA history.
And he was the better player in the regular season too. That's what that's what blinded me. But Jason Tatum is the better player.
Jaylen Brown changed the course of NBA history.
With what?
The Finals performance.
Oh yeah.
The Mavericks saw the Finals performance and decided they don't want to pay Luka $365 million. And quite frankly, if you were watching both of those guys play for the first time, or if you were watching that series for the first time, you would think that Jaylen Brown is the best player on the planet with the way that he played.
He was on one, man. He was fucking phenomenal. So yeah, that's why I was on that trade. I mean, Jaylen Brown was insane last year, the entire season too, from start to all the way to the finish, and it's not been that way this season. So it'd be idiotic for me to say to stay on that train.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, last year it was nuts. It was nuts.
I would also say though too, it's like we talk about Jason Tatum not being an MVP and probably not ever getting that. There's also there's never been a strong sentiment that he's at any moment in time the best basketball player in the world.
And you need that.
You kind of need that feeling.
Top three,
and he's never,
top something.
He's never generated that belief.
I think for at least the next 5 to 6 years, like as long as Jokic is playing, SGA is going to be in that conversation. You have Anthony Edwards. Also, you could have Cooper Flagg being in that same regard.
And
Giannis.
And a healthy Wemby.
Yeah, and then Wemby.
Well, I think the window is kind of closing on Giannis. Not to say that he's going to fall off the planet, but I don't. I mean, he kind of had his moment, and I don't think he's necessarily getting that moment back. Like, he was essentially kind of overtaken by Jokic in that best player in the planet discussion. I don't think he gets it back.
Yeah, I think the consensus, and this was, I don't know if you guys watched that Court of Gold doc.
Yes.
Yeah, the consensus was like, hey, Jokic right now is the best player on the planet.
I'm going to tell you something about that, though. And I guess I've always been a guy that when everybody's super high on Jokic, I try to knock because of the Embiid factor. But Jokic has a title. Giannis has a title. Giannis has a better path to getting another title than Jokic does.
I disagree.
Yeah, Denver, I don't see how, like, Boston is a really good team, right? But Porzingis is on his way out. Horford is on his way out. Like Drew Holiday, we've seen, like, he's on the other side of the hill. Like, those guys, they have a while together. But it's those the main.
I would say Porzingis has a few good years left. Obviously,
when you say a few good years, you have to decide what in the season when his patch of good games are going to come, because he's going to have a stretch of games where he's out every single season.
Right.
But hold on, let me finish my thought really quick.
We'll get to it, yeah.
Because OKC is very young and very good, And those players, when you compare them to Boston, they're just as good or better. So it's like, and they're fucking really young and they're loaded, just like Boston, but they're all 5 to 6, 7 years younger. Denver's not overcoming that. They're not overcoming that. I don't think they're better than the Lakers within the next 3 years at all.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I don't think Milwaukee's all that good.
Milwaukee,
and their next best player is Dame, who's also very old.
Yeah, but Milwaukee has, number one, they have shown the propensity to make moves and get better. Boston, to my point, can be had. I don't think OKC will be able to be had down the line.
But even if they have Boston, they've got to get OKC to win a title.
Yeah. But getting there is like the fucking, that's the main thing. I just get there. Yes. No. Because you have to be in the fight to win it. Like I don't think Denver has a chance to get to the title. You understand? I think Milwaukee has a chance to get to the title within the next 5 years.
Yeah, I don't at all.
You don't?
No, not close.
And you know, it's crazy that we're even putting it in these terms, but organizationally, I don't know if any of the three places. I think Milwaukee may be the best organization willing to spend. We don't know about Boston yet because they're going to have they're going to have new owners, and this ownership group was willing to spend, and they're selling it at an all-time high, and we don't know what is going to be of this ownership group. And then Denver, like, if you pay close enough attention, like, they didn't re-sign KCP and
Bruce Brown.
Yeah, Bruce Brown.
You know what I mean?
Michael Malone, their coach, has been adamant, like, hey, we need to spend some money to keep Jokic and Murray while they're in their prime. We need to be as competitive as we can while we have these guys, and playing some of these young guys just isn't going to get it done. So I do believe this year, though, if they have the right matchups, they can get to an NBA Finals. I don't know if they can beat Boston in a 7-game series. But yeah, I do think that after this year, they're going to have to make a move to fortify their roster. Otherwise, you're right. Like, Jokic may not win another title.
But I think both teams are in a close enough position that the difference is negligible. I think both teams have incredibly great player as the number one, and they have either an aging or fading supporting cast, and I don't see the pathway for either of those organizations to rejuvenate their supporting players. My
point to that, though, is, and the reason why I argue, is I think Milwaukee has made continuously efforts to do that. The Kyle Kuzma, that's a move to get younger, to get faster, to get better, and all the way down the line. I could go through the moves. Denver hasn't. They've done the opposite. When they've had good guys, they have been reluctant to pay them and let them go.
Now, again,
and then on top of that, it's the OKC Boston factor that I bought in.
I will say this, though. Denver has been right. Like, Bruce Brown is not what Bruce Brown used to be. Now, granted, he's been in some tough situations.
I was going to say, not tough. He's been in awful.
But KCP, I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, I hope that they find him guilty of his wife betting on under for the parlay, because the way he's shooting the basketball this year.
But that's the thing. Elite role players need to be in elite situations to be elite.
Agree.
Orlando has zero, and I mean zero, playmakers. You know what I mean?
Well, you have Paolo and Franz, but KCP was supposed to spread the floor and hit shot, and he just hadn't done it.
How can you spread the floor when nobody's giving you elite passes?
Yeah, I don't think either one of those guys really do much to make plays for others.
You got what's our guy with the Lakers? Dorian Finney-Smith. He says, "Man, I'm butt ass naked open."
Yeah.
I'm butt ass naked open. KCP is not butt ass naked open like he was in Denver.
I don't think
with Jokic passing him the ball.
I don't think Franz or Paolo do a real good job of making the
and
game.
Bruce Brown in Toronto, that's a joke. That is a joke.
Yeah. No, I just.
Well, he's in New Orleans.
I know now,
which is
but I'm
even
talking about
he
first went to Toronto.
At the end of the day, I don't think either one of those teams are legitimate contenders to win this year.
Yeah.
And I don't see them being better contenders in the next couple years.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But Boston is still here. That's a fair point. Now,
and when you say like OKC is really there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're young, they're talented, and I just think the potential for other teams to kind of rise up into contention is greater than those guys kind of rejuvenating a level of contention.
No, for sure, for sure. Once again, you guys are still on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I'm glad Juan is here because he's such a guru and an almanac, and he has all this stuff in his brain.
Almanac? Do those still exist?
I'm old, man.
With the internet. I don't know.
I want to talk about the Mavs, right? I want to talk about the Mavs and all of this good stuff, and then Kyrie, the Luka piece. But to start this topic here, Pink, I want to go off the grid here. We talked about this off camera before, and I didn't want to do it, but I'm going to do it because Juan is here, and he can tell me if I'm wrong or not. I want to tell the people out there, and again, I hate to do it. We're just coming off Black History Month. I'm black. But I know, man. I know it's tough. I don't want to do it, but I have to highlight it here. What black GMs have done to NBA teams in this league is criminal.
Here we go.
It's criminal, and I'm going to go down the line because I did research. When I talked to Pink off camera, it's just loose comments because of the Elton Brand thing, right?
You can go back to the Otis Smith days.
I have names. I have names, and I have moves.
Wes Unseld?
Oh, man.
Elgin Baylor?
Keep it coming because they're here.
I'm
Elgin
putting
Baylor
an
with the
asterisk.
Clippers.
I'm putting an asterisk next to Elgin Baylor.
Elgin Baylor with the Clippers.
I'm putting an asterisk.
Awful.
Donald
Sterling.
Sterling.
The asterisk comes from Donald Sterling, and he did win an executive GM of the year 1 year. And Donald Sterling racist and all of that. But he was awful. The Clippers were awful for a stretch.
Elgin Baylor
never made any moves to further better that team. Okay.
Elgin Baylor should have a lifetime achievement award for working for Donald Sterling.
I'll give you the asterisk on that because I don't know what it was like in that environment.
The fact that he didn't kill him takes away any praise you want to give him.
We'll put him down below with these other guys I'm going to talk about. Okay, Bill Russell. God awful. Michael Jordan, we know God awful.
Bill Russell was a GM?
For the Seattle Supersonics.
Oh, okay.
And he may have been the worst to ever do it. Bottom five. Michael Jordan, we know. Isaiah Thomas, he's also in the bottom three. He was one of the worst to just ever face this planet in any sport as a general manager. Billy King, he's also in the bottom three. There's like 10 guys in the bottom three. Billy King was just cheese Louise, okay? What he did to the 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets, New Jersey Nets at that time. If I ever see Billy King in person, there's going to be chairs moving and tables moving, okay? Elton Brand, Stephen A. Smith, shut the fuck up, man. Elton Brand he's a god-awful GM. He destroyed us.
He took up for Elton Brand?
Yeah, he's like, Darren Moore needs to be removed, and Elton Brand, he's the real guy, and he needs to be in place. What the fuck are you talking about? There's a reason why they moved Elton Brand to the side to bring Darren Moore in, but they let Elton Brand keep his GM title. Who he had to screw in that organization, I have no idea, to keep his GM title. But yeah, Elton Brand, also in my bottom two. Will Dawkins, Wizards. I know you don't know, but if I say Wizards, then you should understand. Landry Fields, the Hawks. He took over the Hawks in 2022. Okay, he's been really bad. Okay.
I don't know. I'll
the jury is still out.
The jury's still out.
But he hasn't made any significant moves to make him better. I mean, he's been bad.
Well,
he didn't draft Trae Young. Trae Young was already there.
He realized the Murray situation didn't work and got rid of him. And they're a better team now.
Are they?
Slightly.
I don't think so.
They're below 500, aren't they?
Yeah, but they were.
I don't think so. I don't think they're a better team without Murray.
I think it's negligible.
It's negligible at best. Yeah. And that's not, I mean, you know what I mean?
Dyson Daniels has been a great find.
Dyson Daniels is good. Okay. Now, there are a couple of positive. First of all, I don't count, I'm talking about Black American. I'm talking about that. No, seriously, that is a difference.
To get Massai out of the discussion.
You know what I mean? and other guys like that. The one exception is Joe Dumars. Joe Dumars was good. There's an expression that a broken clock is right twice a day. You understand? So yeah, you get Joe in there.
Was Joe responsible for the Darko selection?
Maybe so.
That's got to be a stain on your career.
Maybe.
Larry
I'm not sure
Brown
what
had
year
more
exactly he left.
Larry Brown had more to do with that than Joe did, though.
And then now jury's still out. Calvin with the Nuggets. Again, Murray and Jokic were already there. Okay, so we have to see. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been good.
But
okay?
Juan might be onto something by saying the guys they have let go have done nothing after leaving.
It's terrible situations, B.
But yeah, there is something to that though. Like when you know when to let go of people, like when you can size that up.
Yes,
because again, I mean, like I think a lot of the praise for a general manager or front office is generally associated with who they bring in and what moves they make to bring people in. And I think an underrated aspect is knowing who to let go.
Knowing who to let go, but knowing who works for your team, because the guys who's replacing those guys aren't any good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, but I mean, like, it's possible what you're saying is entirely true. It's also possible that they just saw like these guys. We're not going to get any more out of them. It's time to let them go. That's
true. But again, when you do that, the guys you bring in have to hit. They have to hit, and they haven't hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also the max extension to Michael Porter Jr. has not rung out to be good. Okay.
Yeah.
Just hasn't.
That was. I look at that as a cost of doing business, though.
But the Bruce Brown and KCP is not the cost of doing business. It's a positive that you let them go. I mean, it has to work both ways there.
Yeah, I'm just saying maybe those were two good moves because neither guy's done anything. But again,
you put Michael Porter Jr. on the Toronto Raptors. He's not doing he's doing less than anything.
No. There was when they're making that decision, and I think when what I'm reading from Juan saying cost of doing business, when you have that group and you're on the rise, you're saying, well, I'm gonna secure the nucleus of this team, and we feel we're going to be contending for the next 3 to 4 year window of time that these contracts are going to be there. So I mean, it's probably hard to second guess and say that was the wrong decision at the time it was made.
No, yeah. I put him in the category of hasn't been good, hasn't been bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not, the MPJ is what it is. You know what I mean? That is the cost of doing business. I'm just saying, like, it's just, you have to bunch that into the moves that were made. All right. Now, Nico Harrison is a new guy in my bottom three. Okay. When his move was made, of course, I said it. Being a Luka guy, though, is why I said it. But the thing is Nico and ownership is said to have spearheaded the trade with the Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic, and they're making a bet that Luka is going to be injured down the line because he's not doesn't take care of his body, doesn't work out as much, and he's going to be injured down the line. So that's why we want to move off of him. And I said it at the time. It's not that you moved off of him. You can I like when teams do that. I really do. Yeah. Okay. What you get back for him is the key, and that's what your fear was. He's going to be injured down the line because he doesn't take care of his body, and you trade him for a guy whose nickname is Street Clothes. That makes absolutely no sense. Nico Harrison may be the worst GM of all time of any color because that's an idiotic way to make a trade. They make this fucking general manager thing out to be like this impossible job, and you have to have all these years of experience and be in the league and all of this and that.
Well, Nico came from Nike.
But these guys, these guys, they make moves that everybody can see up front. Like this is terrible. Yeah. Hello. Maybe we shouldn't give Tobias Harris a max contract deal. Like, hello, we don't trade Luka Doncic, who just drug this team or helped drag this team to the finals a couple of months ago for an Anthony Davis.
Well, I mean, in its own way, the model for a Luka trade is really the Paul George Shea trade, where you're getting a guy that's a big guy at the potentially late peak of his career, and you're moving him, but you're getting back young people that can maybe rise.
You're saying if you're going to move him, that's
if
what
you move
yeah,
Luka,
yeah.
that should be the model that you're looking at.
Yeah.
In that you're getting, like, again, OKC moved Paul George, and at the time, oh man, it's kind of tough for you guys. But they got SGA, who's now among the best players in the world, and playing great and leading them to the top seed. Where you're trading, at the end of the day, you're trading Luka for a guy that's older, that has basically displayed the same health record that you have concerns that Luka will do. And that's your trade. But I mean, all things aside, this could not, literally could not have gone any worse. I mean, Anthony Davis gets injured in his first game as a Maverick, and then this was heartbreaking.
It was
Kyrie getting hurt.
Yeah,
it felt just sick and shitty and miserable.
Yeah.
I've really grown to appreciate him more and more.
Yeah.
And this was just awful. And then again, he goes down, and he'd kind of been like the classy face of this whole thing. He was complimentary of Luka. He was kind of the, hey, we're gonna play our asses off here and do what we need to do. And for him to go down, it's just cruel. It's just cruel. Again, this is why there is no God, and you can't fool yourself that there is. No, it is. It is. Like, you guys want to say there's a God and things happen for a reason. Fuck that.
You topped my Black Jim comment there, so I appreciate that. Less heat is on me now.
So that's all. But I got you, man.
But with the Kyrie news here,
and then the tone deaf, they literally have just outraged their entire family.
Yeah, and then you see the other thing.
Now you kick them in the balls with, and no, you know what kind of
the
ball
ticket
kick,
prices you saw that?
You know what kind of ball kick this is? They're walking away, and you jam that foot up between the legs and hit the backside of the scrotum.
Oh man,
that's the type of kick.
Yeah, that's painful.
We've already driven you away, but we're gonna kick you in the balls with a back
How
shot.
can you increase the ticket prices?
That's
Who is behind
insane.
that?
That's insane.
Come on, man.
You've literally, in totality, you have made this entire organization probably the most disliked in the league.
Yeah.
I'm sure players are I wouldn't want to go there right now. Why would I want to play for Dallas?
That's insane.
They theoretically they could have a whole bunch of cap space. I don't think they can give it away.
Oh, Kobe says sack tap.
Yeah.
That's what you call it as a name for it.
Okay, I got it, man.
So Juan, with Kyrie going down, the whole Luka thing, what is your take on Dallas moves? And did you think it was going to work out originally?
Well, the proper saying is God doesn't forgive short-sighted decisions, and there's just, I think the thing that is lost here is we're sitting here talking about and evaluating this like it's a 2K trade, and there's just so much of a real life and a business aspect to this. And Pink, you had kids. I couldn't imagine.
Still have them there.
Yeah. So if I couldn't imagine having a 10-year-old kid that loves basketball and loves the Mavericks and saying, "Hey, we just traded Luka Doncic."
That could literally,
that's devastating.
That literally could be met with tears and door slams and refusal to eat, at that age group, that's real stuff.
Yeah.
If you have that kid, he loves basketball, he's got the home jersey, the away jersey, and whatever, and now this is the reality, man.
Yeah.
That could devastate a kid, man.
Yeah. But I will say this, and I'm not here to defend anybody. I'm not here to criticize anybody either. From a basketball standpoint, I can see why they did it. They said that they're looking at this for the next 3 to 4 years. I really do think that a healthy Anthony Davis, which, as karma would have it, 31 minutes into his debut, he suffers probably a season-ending injury. A healthy Kyrie Irving, which unfortunately, when you're down bad. and that's just the way it was going for Dallas. And with the way they were utilizing Kyrie, like Kyrie wasn't the pillar of health.
Yeah, he led the league in minutes
up to this point in his career. He is 32 years old, starting to be on the back end of his career, and he played more minutes this year than he ever played. That is not a smart organizational decision, and this was going to be the case whether Anthony Davis was healthy or not. That was going to be the case.
Well, they have no other guard playmaking.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem. The way the rest of the roster. I mean, again, you go into the season with him and Luka. There's no need for playmaking.
Yeah.
But once you make that decision and there's no playmaking coming back in that trade, you've really put yourself.
Since the Luka trade, Kyrie had led the league in minutes. That's
but
honest.
what if all of this results in Cooper Flag?
Well, I was literally going to get to that. Like at this point, Dallas just needs to go full tilt and try to lose every game possible.
The problem with that is other teams began the tank process a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Toronto's was trying to lose these last two games, and they couldn't do it.
That's because the Orlando Magic is god awful. But that's what happens.
But
you're going to play other tank teams too. You know what I mean? Other bad teams.
But my point is this: all you need to do is get in the lottery. And you one tainted ball can go your way.
Yeah.
Look at Atlanta last year. Atlanta was a playing team last year, and they got
East. Yeah.
It
doesn't matter if your balls. Balls are in the machine.
No.
They can get licked.
I'm saying the record is what matters, not playing. So the East is. You understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is Dallas is already too far, in my opinion. Now, again, like you said, if they lose all the way out, okay, maybe.
Well, no, I'm saying,
but they're not in a position right now to say, okay, we're going to go full tank and be firmly in the lottery. That's not like a given.
No. All I'm saying is that I'm not even favoring full tank. I'm just saying if you're in the lottery, you have a chance to get the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a low chance. It's a minuscule chance, but the chance is there.
Yeah.
And again, there's we're not beyond corruption in the NBA. Like something might happen.
No, something may happen. And how many teams are in the lottery again?
14.
And if you're
14.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
It's the playing team.
They're actually 14th right now, so it's possible.
Here's the thing.
It's possible.
Here's the thing. If you're a conspiracy guy and believe that Lucas moved to LA to generate excitement and ratings, the back end trade off on that is we're going to get you a young star in Cooper Flag.
Yeah, but going back to the point of I could see why they did it for basketball reasons. In the next 2 to 3 years, I really do think that given the roster that they had fully healthy, could have given them a better shot to win an NBA championship. But if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. And betting on betting on the health of Kyrie, betting on the health of Anthony Davis,
it's nuts.
Betting on the health of players on that current roster, Clay, PJ Washington. It was Dante Exum. It was just a very Daniel Gafford, Lively, who were already
all hurt.
Yeah. It was a decision that was not thought all the way through. And I will say this. I went to the finals last year, and I watched Luka play live. And I witnessed him, and Pink, I know you're not the biggest Luka fan.
Yeah.
I could have seen why after that.
Yeah.
And Dallas is looking at this guy, and they're like, we've got to give him $365 million. Now, if you didn't want to give him the $365 million, understandable. But there are...
I think you should give him $500 million.
Yeah, the way... the one thing the one thing I respected about the way Mark Cuban ran the Dallas Mavericks is he let people that knew what they were doing
do what they do
and make the decisions. But you have this owner who, I'm not an expert on who he is, but he is the president of Resorts World. And if you look at Resorts World, their performance and their business ratings since he took over, it has been fairly negative.
Yeah.
And how is he still keeping his job, and how did he get into that job? Is he married into it?
No, I said this a couple weeks ago. Like at the end of the day, Mark Cuban is responsible for this.
Mark Cuban doesn't have any. He has nothing to do from a. Mark Cuban's just a traveling fan.
No, here's why. Because he owned that team. He was an emotionally invested owner of that team. For his time as owner, he made that team something of a destination for players. And it was essentially a playoff caliber contending team during his time. He makes the decision to sell. And that was it. That sealed the fate of this. The business was not going to be conducted the same ever again, because the buyers are not going to have the emotional investment that he brought to the job.
Yeah, it was a very low chance of that.
And the reality is, Luka does not get traded if Cuban is controlling
No,
the
Mark
team.
Cuban said he would divorce his wife before trading Luka.
But that's what I'm saying. Honestly, as an NBA fan,
I understand
as
what you
somebody
mean
who
by that.
cares about the game, I want Mark Cuban running the team all day over some corporate cocksucker from Vegas. That's it. I just that is difference making stuff to me. You want people that give a shit about basketball, not purely business people.
Yeah.
And then this is the type of decision making that you get.
Now
when you allow
that
those
makes
guys
sense.
to do
I
it.
didn't know about the background of the owners and stuff like that, but that would make sense that all of this happens.
The controlling owner, which is Patrick Dumont,
and they increase the ticket prices. That means they're
They
based on business.
They bought the team with designs of getting a casino at the site of the thing. That apparently got blocked. Now their master plan has been shuffled. And now again they're looking at, do we want to pay this guy, whatever. And again, there's enough of Luka out there negatively, the lack of defense, the casual habits, the fitness. He was average as a young player 67 games a season. Do we really expect that to go up in the next 4 or 5 years of his career? There's a lot of reasons that Luka left himself exposed in this situation, but they just looked at it as business people. We don't want to make that type of investment. The NBA is a winning product, and again, there's the notion that they plummet the value of Dallas and so bad here, and it may be happening that they then get to move the team to a place.
Well, Dallas is that's a lot more complicated than it sounds, because Dallas is like the I want to see the fifth biggest media market in the NBA, or the fourth or something. It would be an incredibly difficult move.
It may well, but these guys aren't making good decisions to begin with, and this is what, and I'm saying this may be their plan. Whether they can pull it off or not, probably not. But if you kind of take a step back and say, well, look at how they're handling this franchise, look at the moves that they're making, again, even the ticket price increase. They're literally just middle fingering the fans at every turn.
Well, you do know that the ticket price increase, that's not unique to just the Mavericks. You know what the Magic raised them by?
Right. No,
15%.
That's because the Magic have a good product.
No. Well, no. I get ticket prices are always going to go up, but there is this moment in time is not the time to do it.
It's not the time.
Yeah.
You know what the 76ers did 2 weeks ago? They took the prices down. You can get the below nosebleed seats for $5 to $10. That's what they did.
Literally.
That's what you know.
And maybe they already made a ticket increase at the end of last year when they finished the finals. But if you're going to make a finals appearance, hey, let's go in the offseason, raise tickets, prices. Nobody's batting an eye.
You should have.
But you do it after trading the cornerstone of your franchise?
You knew this was going to happen, because they were going around they were going around like the Nazis, taking down negative signs about the owners and kicking people out of the arena that made chants like, hey, this is a decision that you get paid a lot of money to make. You have to live with the consequences.
Yeah.
You've got to live with the consequences. And listen, I'm not condoning people making death threats or anything of that nature. That's a step too far.
Not for me.
But we shouldn't be surprised that is happening to the owners and the general managers and people in the franchise. Like this is when you made this decision with arguably the most popular player in the world right now. Not just in the NBA but internationally. Like Luka is parallel with LeBron, and now they're on the same team. And the NBA may just be broadcast in China again before you know it with the pairing of those two. But those are the consequences you have to live with.
You have to live with them.
But my point is, in the middle of this shit show, they just keep doubling down on the stupid and making it worse.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Nico Harrison. I don't want to see him as a GM a Pizza Hut after this shit is over with. He needs to be banned from all jobs with manager in general in the title. Okay, let's move him down to a fry cook or something after this is over. I hope he saved his money. This is awful, man. Again, it's not that he traded Luka. It's what he traded Luka for.
Well, it's this generation's Billy King. I mean, listen, if Billy King would have been a genius, if KG and Paul Pierce could have won Brooklyn that title, now we could have seen that, they were a couple years.
He gave up the entire franchise.
Yep.
For 38-year-olds.
Yep.
He gave up the entire franchise.
Yeah. Change the course of history. I really do think, like I said, it's so funny how the parallels of this. So we're talking about this Brooklyn trade, right? Billy King trades for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce for the picks that end up being Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown annihilates Luka and makes the Mavericks make quite possibly the worst trade in NBA history. Now, I'm not ready to call it that because I'm not a Monday morning quarterbacking just yet. I believe you totally have to see this process through, and the only end to this process is to fly the flag. Or get the ace of spades.
Yeah, but there's nothing to see through. Kyrie is going to be out another, he may not even return next season. I mean, because
he will. You just don't know if he's going to be at the
end of the year, at best. Past All-Star, all of that.
Now, optimistically, you could be on an 8 or 9 month recovery at the earliest.
That's still post All-Star. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. 9 to 10 months. I mean, and that's
8 or 9 months would put us in before Christmas.
Yeah, if you listen, if they don't get
for a guy who would be 33,
if they don't get a top, let's say 3 to 4 pick, I'm burning it down. I'm going full Oklahoma City, Philadelphia process, the Orlando Magic when they traded Fournier and Vucevic. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
I know what you're like.
It's an incredible frame of reference.
Yeah, that's because again, given their roster next year is you have again I named them earlier. Your top 4 guys are walking health risks.
Yeah. Yeah, the good thing about it, though, is Kyrie has 1 year left on his deal, which is a player option. He's definitely going to opt in now since he had the injury. The question for them was going to be whether Kyrie would opt out and try to connect with Kevin Durant somewhere or bring Kevin Durant to Dallas. That was the thing. Yeah. Now that's 100% not a thing. Kyrie is definitely going to opt in, and then Kevin Durant is not going to come there now.
I wonder where Kevin Durant goes. Maybe that's the next topic.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it. I mean, last night. Was it last night? Yeah, they come all the way back, storming back.
Connor Gillespie.
Down 20 points
23.
or so.
They were down 23.
But your guy gets hurt, Bradley Beal.
My guy. I've never liked that guy.
You deemed him to get the bad guy, so that's why I said
he's not
your guy.
In my
he's the
world,
bad
that's
guy.
an insult. In my world, when you get the bag, you are not on my team.
What an asshole, too. Because the only way to improve that team was for him to be moved, and they came to him like 1,000 times, and he's like, "No, I'm not going anywhere," because he has a no trade clause. What an asshole, man. But they're probably going to get in the play-in now because Dallas, like you said, even if they don't tank, they're going to lose games.
Yeah.
And Dallas is ahead of Phoenix and they have the 10th spot, and Phoenix is in 11. So they're going to be in the play-in situation.
And behind that, I mean, we had a discussion a couple weeks ago. I mean, San Antonio without Wemby, they're not going to win.
No, they're not going to.
So there's not
So now they have
that they're going to get hot and overtake anybody.
So they got lucky in a sense of. All that has to happen is Dallas stay relatively healthy and they are without the play-in. But in any event, we don't see Phoenix going on a long playoff run.
No.
So Durant next year. They're talking about Phoenix engineering the trade and trading him somewhere.
Well, they have to.
That's the only way they can improve their team because Bradley Beal is not going to do anything.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean the question, like where does Kevin Durant fit? Like
I'll tell you where he fits.
These older
Golden
guys.
State.
The Orlando Magic.
Really though?
Yeah.
I mean, and I say that because
shooting and scoring.
Your two best guys are Paulo and
they're pretty much the same position.
And Franz, and then
but you would have to move Franz.
You're saying that
in order to make it work? Yeah,
No.
You would have to.
They
don't have any other high contract guys, and with the new bargaining agreement, you have to match salaries. So it's not the old days.
Yeah,
Franz is the only guy you can move.
Well, you can move. I mean, I wouldn't suggest doing this, but
Isaac.
you can move Suggs.
Suggs and Isaac.
Isaac would be another guy. Wendell would be. I mean, I would do Wendell, Isaac.
Yeah, that's in a perfect world. But
and,
Phoenix is not. I mean, what does Phoenix want with fucking
Yeah,
Wendell
those
and
guys,
Suggs? Suggs is out for the year. Like, who knows what he's going to look like? They don't want those
Suggs
guys.
is the reason. Not having Suggs is the reason the Magic are in the position they're in.
Yeah, but when guys are on season injuries, I know we're in 2025, but I mean, like, you still have to see how these guys look before you like make move Kevin Durant for a guy. But I understand, like, yeah.
But what if really the question is, like,
but
what
what
is
other
the
team?
market
I know
for Kevin Durant, and what do they have to offer?
Yeah.
Well, the market is a team that's looking to win a championship next year.
Right.
Honestly,
if OKC
Memphis,
falls short,
Memphis
is a
Oklahoma,
is a good one.
yeah.
But if OKC falls short this year, do they say, okay, let's trade some of these, because they have like 10
Sam
guys
Presti won't do it.
No,
Too much bad blood there.
And I agree. And I don't think it's necessarily the best fit. They have a wonderful thing
They do.
Like,
but that's why I said if they fall short again.
Yeah, don't jack up the timeline on that.
Minnesota's a possibility.
Minnesota could.
Yeah.
Minnesota might make sense.
Minnesota could make sense.
Because I mean, and
will welcome it.
And KD
And
like
will
each
welcome
other.
it.
They
But
respect each other.
yeah. Just talking about fit, not what they give up. What Phoenix will want to do with Julius Randle is beyond my realm of comprehension.
But again, think about
he's
this.
a free agent.
They're
so.
not going to.
He'll be a free agent after this year? Oh, so you can't even trade him?
Yeah. But
Oh,
they're
damn.
not. I mean, Phoenix is not going to have a lot of leverage in this. They're going to have to take what they can get.
I think they would.
What? To keep him again? Like, he doesn't want to be there.
I mean, he said he does. But
Man,
I mean,
he
what
don't
is that
wanna
worth?
fucking
I
be
know.
there.
What is that
Yeah,
worth?
no.
But I mean,
At the end of the day, he's going to
and I just thought about it. Golden State is off the table because of Jimmy. I just thought
Yeah, and
about it.
I just don't think he wants to go back there.
I think after the season, like if it wasn't for the Jimmy move, if that was on the table, I think he would welcome it post after the season. Because in the interview he said, I just didn't want to be moved in the middle of a season to go anywhere. It wasn't a Golden State thing. It was, I want to see the season through with my guys. And then in the off season, what happens. I think that means, hey, Golden State. And then, hey, who knows? Maybe still you move Jimmy and whatever, a couple pieces for KD.
They're like 7 or 8 and 1 with
knows?
Jimmy. I mean, they're like a pretty good team now.
So why mess that up?
Well, no.
Right?
Why not add KD? He would be.
No. You would have to be. I mean, unless you're talking about Draymond, it would have to be for Jimmy, or Draymond.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah, Memphis. I think.
But Memphis is a good one. I like that.
That makes sense. Oklahoma. It makes sense from a basketball standpoint. Now, I don't think that'll happen. Just because of the way. Just because of the way that he left, and some of the things that Presti has said subtly about
What about Miami?
Miami's
always
not
been
winning a
rumored,
championship
but
with
yeah.
him, though.
No,
They're not close
I know
enough.
that, but I mean, Phoenix didn't win with him. Fucking Brooklyn.
Now
Didn't win with
Pat
him.
is a superstar hunter.
That's what I'm saying.
He'll make a play.
Yeah,
he'll make a play.
based on the Heat and Pat being superstar hunters
Yeah.
and being, I would think, desperate to become relevant.
Yeah,
again.
yeah. He'll make a play for Durant.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
a team I could see maybe trying to get him, depending on how this season ends up, is Milwaukee. Like, I think if you put KD on Milwaukee as opposed to Kyle Kuzma, like,
Yeah.
they're a legitimate threat to
cooking.
knock off Boston.
cooking.
But
And Kuzma is still relatively young. That's something for Phoenix, and of course Milwaukee will add in some other stuff. That's not bad. That's not bad.
yeah.
Milwaukee and Memphis. I like those. I like those two.
Yeah, and then
I like
you
those two.
know who else is gonna be, is gonna be thirsty to try to maybe make a move. And again, we just gotta wait and see how this plays out, because I do think that they can make a run, even though their recent performance has been bad. But the Clippers, you put James Harden, Kawhi, and KD together and make one last run. Like, if there's anybody that's willing to make that risk, it's Steve Ballmer. So.
That's true. That's true.
You move, yeah. Then you're really like, it's the next 2 years, because you have to move off Powell, who is younger and has some game.
Yeah, but Powell's 32,
But Powell's not
though.
a needle. He's not a true needle mover. So I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, I just don't know what his fit is with Booker. And honestly, like, you mentioned these African American GMs. You forgot to
Jones.
mention James Jones.
I forgot to mention James
I mean,
That's right.
when I listened to him last year, explain to one of his staffers why they didn't need a point guard, a traditional point guard. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was
nuts. We
was-
talked about it on the show too, because we were talking about Ken Booker,
Yeah.
because his point was with Booker and Durant, how much offense and this and that really needs to be ran, and like Juan said, it was really an idiotic way of thinking. But it's like, damn, you played in the league too, though. It's not like you're just some book pusher that doesn't know basketball. That was odd.
But he played in the league with LeBron.
Yeah.
But LeBron is a playmaker. He is a point
but
guard.
what I'm saying, like, he didn't play with a traditional point guard.
Yeah,
Like, all
yeah.
of his success was playing LeBron.
So he probably was
basketball.
drawing from that experience.
Yeah, that's
but
what I'm
LeBron,
saying.
he's a point guard in a 6'9" body.
No, I
but
get all
that
that
is
yeah.
a great point, though.
Yeah.
That's a great point you
Yeah.
bring up.
Yeah.
But yeah, and before we got a couple other things we have to hit. We only got like 20 minutes left or whatever. Devin Booker, like, it feels like 2 years ago we were saying he was Kobe Bryant's second coming, and now he escapes
for the record,
all
I never
criticism.
said that. Yeah.
Devin Booker escapes like literally all criticism. He never ever says a word about him, but something has to be off. He's Durant, Booker, Bobo, who plays well when he gets the minutes. Grayson Allen led the league in 3-point shooting last year. He's top 5 or 6 this year. That team should not be 11th seed, and those guys are relatively healthy.
Well, their roster is poorly built.
But
All
they have enough pieces to not be down there if those guys are playing up to par. My point to bringing that up is I don't think Devin Booker has been playing up to par, but somehow no one ever says anything about it.
No, Booker, he should have been an all-star this year.
So you think he is playing up to par?
I think he's pulling his weight.
If he's pulling his weight and Durant is pulling his weight, Bobo is pulling his weight, Grayson Allen is pulling his weight, well, who's not? Is the coach terrible? That's enough not to be the 11th seed. That's enough.
I'll just say this somehow, and I didn't think this was within the realm of possibility before the season started, but Budenholzer's making Frank Vogel look like a genius.
Okay, so you're saying Bud hasn't had a good coaching season.
He has not had a good year. Defensively, they are really bad, and that roster is defensively they're poorly built. Zubac had 40 last night.
Yeah.
Zubac.
I mean, center and point guard, which are two
Right.
two important pieces in basketball. Yeah, that's what they lack.
So you mentioned
like,
Durant,
but in their most recent heyday, they had Chris Paul and Ayton.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
So
and
they
they
kinda
got
had
to the
those spots,
finals.
and they got to the finals.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, oh, fuck what we learned.
So,
Go another direction.
so you mentioned Durant and Booker pulling their weight, and Bull. Remember, Bull 3 weeks ago wasn't playing. Wasn't in the
I said when he
rotation.
plays, I know.
Yeah.
And that's bad on Bud, though. That's bad on Bud, so
Right.
I understand.
And then Bud recently discovers Connor Gillespie last night.
There you go.
But everybody else, Grayson Allen
Yes.
has been shooting the ball
He shoots.
decent.
Yeah, that's his
But
thing.
everybody else has been bad or below average. So what team is going to be a good team, much less a contending team, when you have 5 players that are pulling their weight? And they ended up getting Nurkic out of there, who just was not a good fit. Wasn't a good locker
I
room
think
guy.
it's over anyway for Nurkic. Yeah.
And again, when you have the roster deficiencies that they had, they didn't have a true center that Bud was willing to play, and Tyus Jones has not been the addition that I thought he would have been at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they thought he can come in and fight for starters minutes at point guard because he has been a great reserve point guard his whole career. Kobe says Booker is NBA's Justin Herbert.
I love that.
I kind of like that.
But
man.
the funny thing is when you go to Team USA, Booker really found that role as being like a glue guy, and
he's a catch and shoot.
guy.
I think that's really what he is. He's an elite role player.
Right.
I think that's really what he is.
Yeah.
But he's offcasted as a superstar, but really he's an elite role player.
Yeah.
One of the best in the game.
Booker is elite. And I think he is a superstar, but the results when you put the ball in his hands at a high rate has not been good. And when Phoenix
I don't think he could be a superstar.
When
if that's the
Phoenix
case.
I think I'll take him as a star, but I think when you talk superstar, the very definition of that is 2 things. When that you're capable of shouldering the significant load and still playing efficiently night in and night out, and also at the end of the day, your team fucking wins more than it loses.
Yeah. That's just it, man. Now we got to move off because we got 2 things that we have to hit. One is this, right? So you got Shaq coming out saying that Steph Curry should be in the GOAT conversation. That started a whole bunch of stuff there, of course. Now I'll let you guys. I've led things off for a couple of times. I'll go last here. Who wants to start here? Do you agree?
Pound
with Shaq?
for pound, yes.
No,
Pound for
I don't.
pound,
I don't
yes.
want all
Not
of
a
these.
pound for pound guy.
I don't like. I don't want.
We're not in boxing or MMA.
NMs. I want.
No, I mean he is one of the league's truly great and unique talents, and his career has been magnificent. And I don't know if anybody ever had a greater basketball moment than him in the final 2 games of the Olympics. And there's no better show in the game of basketball over the last decade
when he gets hot
than when Steph goes on.
Oh man,
that's it. But when you're talking about the GOAT, like the 2-way impact that Jordan and LeBron do, and even in that finals when they came back, like when LeBron got angry and went to another place, nobody can do anything about that. So I don't think you can put him in the GOAT conversation, but there's a whole universe of praise that he's earned short of that.
And well deserved.
Yeah.
I mean he's one of those monsters, man.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Juan?
I do agree with Shaq because he's the best shooter of all time.
Yes.
And he's got, I mean, his resume speaks for itself. He has 4 titles, 2 MVPs, and he has some of the most iconic moments in the forget about the NBA, like the history of basketball. That Paris shot that he hit to seal the deal, it could have been the most difficult shot in the history of basketball. Like there's no one else on planet Earth that is making that shot.
But it looks routine for him.
And
yeah.
like like I watched the Court of Gold thing, and it's like watching
Netflix.
that. Like I got choked up watching it in the Olympics. I got choked up watching it in Court of Gold 4 months later, 6 months later. Like it's unreal. Like just that's the thing. Like when he does his shit, like it just moves you.
It's one of the greatest shows on earth. It's appointment television when Steph is getting hot. My thing about this and what Shaq said is this. I talked about a good thing that my generation and my era done. A bad thing that my generation and my era has done is we have taken the GOAT term. See, in Pink's day, Jordan was the GOAT of basketball. Help me out. Joe Montana was the GOAT in football. Wayne Gretzky, Tiger Woods. When we came along, we wanted to be nicer to everyone. And instead of GOAT, it's like everybody is a GOAT. And it's like it's greatest of all time. And like that's terrible that what we've done to that word, because we put everybody in the same grouping. Like when I hear NFL players talk about the Hall of Fame, what they say is the Hall of Fame is everybody. First ballot is a different room inside the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
That's what they say in the NFL.
Okay.
Shannon Sharp has said it many times. Like Steph Curry is not in the same room as Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Now he's still great. He's still awesome. He's one of the greatest ever. But he's just not in that. He just can't be in that room, man. Like, in order to be even considered as a GOAT, yes, you have to be a two-way player. Basketball is two sides. You know, he's never made an all-defensive team, first or second. That matters. Okay, and then when you get to nitpicking about one Finals MVP, Durant came over midstream and was immediately the best player on that team. Immediately, okay, like that matters. Okay, so what does that mean? Is Kevin Durant a GOAT? I mean, where are we going with this? Is Isaiah Thomas a GOAT? Where are we going with this? Shaquille O'Neal is never in GOAT conversations. Shaquille O'Neal is a greater player than Steph Curry. Is Shaquille O'Neal a GOAT? Like it would never end, because there are so many guys in that class where Steph is at that's never talked about with Jordan, LeBron, and Kareem.
You know, I think it's interesting. Like we kind of started early in the show talking about like the face of the NBA and the constant negativity that elicits, and then the point you're making, it's we just exist in a time now where the positive and the negative are so extreme that like it loses any context or perspective.
Yeah.
That there's such a rush to put face of the league on a guy that's in his third year and made a conference final, and there's such a rush to anoint somebody a go to this or go to that, and it's just not that way. Like, and again, that whole, even with the Jordan and LeBron thing, it's gotten nauseating to discuss. It's not even fun.
Yeah.
And so why do we want to add Steph into this?
Yeah.
Like, just fucking appreciate the game.
That's it.
It's just you spend all this time like dissecting resumes for what? Like, he dropped 56 here in town the other day. Enjoy that it happened. Appreciate that you were there, because there's a whole bunch of people in somebody's nutsack right now that weren't there. And they're going to be listening to the stories that you and I and others tell about, oh, this guy was unreal. You're not going to believe what he did in Paris and this and that. And here's the thing. Somebody who's 4 years old right now can, be 15 and watch those games and go on YouTube and find those moments. But they can't live those moments. They can't live that feeling that we had watching that game, because we've seen Steph do that so many times. And you're like, this motherfucker's going to make it. And he's going to make that one. and you felt it. Like
Yeah.
you lived that thing. Like, and that moment is so different than watching a replay of it later or hearing about it later.
1000%.
And that's what I have with the Jordan thing, is when I lived in those times and you're watching him and like it's a tough playoff series or whatever. He was just one of those guys that was fucking inevitable.
Yeah.
Like you knew he was just going to find a way.
Yeah.
You know, you go to that Jazz series at the end and he makes 3 plays in a row and he's the only Bull to touch the ball in the last 3 possessions and they come out winning. And it wasn't surprising. It was like, as you're watching it, this motherfucker's going to do it. He's going to find a way. And that's just the way it was. You know, I mean, there's a handful of guys. I'm a huge Usain Bolt guy, because when you lined up in a race in those 3 Olympic cycles, there was no other outcome.
Inevitable.
You just knew, you know.
Tiger Woods at his height.
Yeah.
And it goes down the line.
And again, like, what is the point of making all these comparisons? Like, enjoy the moments that you have. And enjoy the sport and what somebody can do with themselves. And again, it's all shapes and forms. Like you get Steph 6'3", you know, Davidson, all that stuff that went into what he became. It wasn't predictable. I mean, we were at Winter Park High School in South Carolina, and we were in a tournament that his team won. And, you know, you're watching him play, and oh, this is really good. There's no way in 2006 I'm thinking that I'm looking at a 4-time champion and 2-time MVP.
Yeah.
There's no way. But he made the shit happen.
Yeah. Arguing the things, man. When I first met you, and when Juan back in the day, like that was like my biggest thing. I always did that. Always the Jordan, LeBron, and of course I would do my
You were a
will.
Mayweather guy.
Huh?
You were a Mayweather guy too.
Yeah. Yeah, but because basketball is my favorite sport, like just more so every day, like and on every single like comment thread and stuff like that, and I don't know when, but like, you know, years ago I just came to this point where like it's just dumb and pointless, and I have a better time just watching these guys, because listen, when a guy is your favorite player or you love and champion a guy, and nothing's going to take you away from that. Yeah. No argument. There is no argument that's going to keep me from thinking Wilt Chamberlain is one of the greatest athletes to ever face this planet Earth. There is no argument that's going to keep me away from that. So why dive into an argument with somebody who just doesn't believe that? It's pointless. And that is a part of, you know, our beginning discussion with LeBron and stuff like that. It's just, it really takes away from the game. And I know he's talking about all the debate shows and stuff like that. And I think those guys, as they're reacting to LeBron talking about today's media and stuff like that, they really do a disservice with disagreeing with him, because that is the case. Yeah. You know, they're saying, oh, well, what media guys tear down NBA players and stuff like that? You're just crying, LeBron. It's like, no, that's not it. I mean, Skip Bayless made a whole career off of it.
Right, exactly.
Jason Whitlock made an entire career off of it. These are major media guys that were in major markets. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're on ESPN and Fox and stuff like that. They literally made careers off of that. They became national guys out of that.
Like, they might have been big market guy early in their career, but they became national syndicated guys off of that nonsense.
And you know what's funny is I struggle with that, because I know what it takes to be a big podcast. You either need to be a previous athlete or a famous person and have a podcast, and you already have an initial fan base and stuff like that, Cam and Mace, and it goes down the line, whether you're a former athlete or a famous person, okay? And with that, you do need to have some swag and be able to express your points and do all of that.
Yeah.
Or it's either that or be the crazy talk guy. And
be the idiot. And
it has to be consistent, meaning every time you step on the mic, you have to say something crazy and outlandish.
Right.
And those are the two ways, man. And I struggle with that, because it's like, damn, it's like I know how to do that. You know what I mean? I know how to do that, and I could do it, but it's just like, I wouldn't believe in it. I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't, and I struggle with that because people love to hear it, even if they reject the thought of they love to hear it.
That's the crazy thing.
They do listen to it.
That's the crazy thing.
And they do comment on it.
You're absolutely
right.
right.
And they do share it and send it on IG to their friends.
Yeah.
Look at what this crazy motherfucker said.
Yeah. You will see stuff that goes viral that it is a completely idiotic point. No reasonable person would agree with it, but it's said and just absorbed in some way that people continue to share it and whatever. But it's like, I legitimately hate where we are as a society. It's utterly depressing, but this is what we've become with these, again, just like making viral, like idiotic takes. People that don't have anything important to say, but just say it loud or say it in a stupid way. I mean, it's infused in every aspect of our society. General marketing, even just like, how many guys? All right, there's a guy. It does. He's like an Asian guy. He sells like appliances. And like could be on local TV commercials.
Okay.
Like he looks like just a schlub, and he kind of talks about these appliances. Like
I think I know exactly right,
yeah, but it's like this is not good. Like he doesn't look like a guy I'd want to buy anything from, but like he's run these commercials. His business has apparently prospered. That he's still running these commercials. It's like what are we doing? Why is he the guy? But that's who we are. That's who we are. We just gravitate. And how many like useless fucking celebrities do we have?
Yeah.
Like seriously, like absolutely just useless fucking people.
Yeah.
And they're celebrities. They make millions of dollars, and they're fucking useless. It's horrible.
It really is. Let's see here. Let's run through a couple of these things here. Okay, let's do this. Do you guys have any takes on Shedeur Sanders? He's going through the draft process. You have Colin Cowherd, another media member that says crazy stuff sometimes. He says he fully supported Shedeur until he started wearing his hat backwards. He has this thing about quarterbacks being professional and all of this and that, and he's saying he wouldn't draft Shedeur that high now that he's seen that. And then a lot of the coaches and GMs, as they're interviewing the draft prospects, they're saying that Shedeur is very arrogant and brash, and they're saying that in a negative fashion about him. Any take on that?
First off, if you didn't see over the last 2 years that this is who he was, you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
Did you expect something different?
Right.
Like, this is how he carries himself. The ultimate question is, can he play at a high level in the NFL?
That's what it's about.
And I don't think that his perceived arrogance or brashness is going to determine that. He's either going to do it on the field or he's not. The game's going to sort it out. I've always said that. And so if you're going to nitpick over a guy wearing a hat backwards or whatever, this is consistent with his behavior through his entire career. Now, the one thing I'll say about it is that, like, he has been remarkably consistent. This is what he's used to. I mean, his father's son, for crying out loud. This is not new to him. This is not uncomfortable to him. And that's one of the virtues or values in taking him, is because he's not going to be rattled by any of this nonsense. Now, there are fair questions to say. Is he good enough as a player to be an elite quarterback? I'm not sure yet. We're going to find that out when he takes the field. But to be excited about how he comes off in interviews or how he chooses to wear a hat, come on, man. Come on.
You got any quick take on that one?
Yeah, it's you have to say things to fill 3 hours of a TV and a radio show every day. So this is nothing but to fill 20 or 30 minutes worth of that. Like, he can't talk about anything else, so he's got to find something that's going to get him some views.
There you go. Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb restructured his contract, creates $20 million in salary cap for this season. That's big because they need a lot of different help over there. And then a comment on Twitter, a random guy says, CeeDee, such a dumb move. Could I ask why? CeeDee says, I want to win. It's going to take more than just me, though. basically saying, hey, some of these other guys need to take some
for
do
sure.
some restructuring too.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, he's my guy. Like I said, I believe in this stuff. I really genuinely believe in it. I feel that not taking every possible dollar and being part of a winning, contending team will get you that money back. Yeah. Whether it's during your career or after your career. Like, how many of these Patriot guys, whether it's Edelman or Gronk or, whoever, now have like this sort of secondary careers, like whatever, pontificators on things, because they have this wealth of stories of being in this winning organization. And you can still trade on that for the rest of your life and make a living. You don't need to bleed every dollar when dollars are in a zero-sum game. Every dollar that you get means somebody else in the roster gets less, or the team has to take less.
Yeah, well, you remember CD held out for quite a long time last year, so
yeah, for sure.
That was, this could have been one of those things where, if he didn't agree to this, he could have been. I'm not saying it would have been this year, because I think it would have been. It would have been a drastic move this year, but maybe next year or the year after, he could have been a casualty. So
true. And one other thing too, and again, it's almost a little bit of about face versus his holdout the year before. But as much as we've criticized the Cowboys in recent years, for the most part, they've been a playoff caliber team, just not a team that wins.
Yeah.
This year, they were a dog shit team.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, you get, your CD Lamb, your Micah Parsons, some of these guys are like, I don't want to fucking do that again. Like, seriously. It's one thing to get embarrassed in the first round of the playoffs. It's another to lose 12 games.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's a different animal.
That could also be a message, to Dak.
Yeah, no, it 100%.
I think it is.
Hell yeah. No, it's a message to all the higher paid players on the Cowboys.
Team.
It's we have a choice. Do we all want to give a little something and get back to being a team that wins, 11, 12, 13 games, or do we want to go through what we just went through again?
Yeah.
The thing with the Cowboys is, like, unless guys do that, their best case scenario is like a Colorado. Like, they have the flashy parts that look nice on a highlight tape,
but nothing that really matters.
They had two offensive linemen retire. I think they're going to lose another defensive lineman to salary cap.
The offensive linemen retiring, those were fairly accomplished players.
Yeah, Zach Martin.
So I wonder, though, that should provide some measure of cap relief.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Those guys probably have.
If they're coming off the books.
Yeah, but you just don't replace those guys' production.
I completely agree with that. But again, it would, create a little bit more flexibility, and then CD and he can convince others.
The problem, they did retire, and that does. The problem is they're paying like CD and Micah Parsons. He needs a new deal.
Yeah.
And then you just got Dak as the highest paid quarterback in the league. So yeah, it helps, but then again, you still need a lot more on that team. But sure. But if more guys do it, they'll have a fighting chance to get some talent over there. I thought this was interesting and just a little funny, just to hit quickly here. Is it weird to ask your friend for gas money? I know it's random, but this guy wrote here. He says, charging your homie for gas money is so weird to me, not going to lie. What do you guys take on that?
Okay, two context questions.
I know. We need context, but there is none.
Like, are you and I going on a road trip and you're asking me to chip in for the gas to go to Atlanta? Or are you just out of gas and you need me to give you $20 or $30 to get you?
I think what he's saying, and especially the way he framed it, is if you're the guy that's picking up, like, you got to, like, not to say a name, but there's a guy that we play basketball with, that when there's time for league play and there's leagues and you have to pick him up and bring him to the games, like that guy, a guy that you ride or that you drive on a kind of consistent basis, somewhat consistent basis, somewhat, and then all of a sudden you started. Do you ask for gas? Yeah. He's saying that's weird to be asked for gas money if y'all are cool like that.
If you're cool, if you're cool like that, I'm never asking you for gas money. just personally, I mean, thankfully, I'm in a pretty good situation.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
asking for gas money.
You don't even use gas.
I don't use gas. I'm in such a good situation. But, like, I mean, I kind of get it, like, you know, among the real young people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're like, whatever, you know, 16, 17, 18, you're picking. My son did it. Like, he would pick up this one guy, take him to high school, like, for $20 a week in gas money. Like, I get, like, when you're all, like, broke and everything like that, I get it.
And I think that's what this is.
Yeah,
it has to be.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
man,
because
you know,
nobody in, whatever, 30s, 40s, and if you're established,
Yeah.
you're not really crying over,
Yeah.
you know, over that.
Nah, but, like, I mean, like, in the big picture, full adult life, I just feel like it's one of those things where it's like if you do something kind of extra for somebody, you just feel it's going to come back to you in some other way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to charge you for gas money. Down the line, I might be leaning on you to help me do something. Take me to the airport some random time or whatever.
Really quick here. Seminole High School. Okay, they're playing against Columbus and the Boozer Twins in the state championship game, 7A state championship game. You know, we got B talking about it all the time here every week in the gym. He's saying Seminole is going to smack those boys. Juan, give us some context. I haven't really been entrenched with high school basketball this season. Seminole, to be even more specific, I paid attention to Edgewater and Jones a little bit here, but does Seminole have a chance? Does Seminole have like any like star players? How did they make it this far? And then what can we expect, you know, from the Boozer Twins in this game, et cetera?
It was a great year, Seminole. It was a great season. You guys made it to Lakeland, but you are running into what is quite possibly the best high school team I've ever seen assembled.
They're running into the inevitable.
Yeah, and if your guy wants to bet, I will gladly take his money.
That's better than that Montverde team with like Barnes and all those guys.
I mean, Columbus has, at least 6 to 7 high D1 guys.
Okay.
They play 9 guys, and 8 of them are like high major guys.
Now, I saw Seminole last year lose in the district championship to Lake Mary. They had the one kid that I was actually scouting for John that was good, but did they get like an influx of transfers this year? Or like, I didn't see the makings of a Lakeland team.
They got a couple of guys. You're talking about
the year before. I forget the name of the kid. He's graduated though. I was looking at. He was the light-skinned kid on their Seminole team last year.
Oh, him. Yeah.
But he was like their best player, and then like the other guys around him were like, okay, but I didn't see like.
Yeah, the kid you're talking about's at Flagler.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. I didn't see like other players on that team that jumped out and said, oh man, this is like, you know, even a low D1 player. Like, did
those guys get, or did those guys just get that much better? You think to make a state championship run?
I know that. They got some guys back from football.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And they had a couple of interesting results earlier. Like Winter Park beat them, and Winter Park lost to Apopka, who Seminole beat in the regional final.
Okay.
So could this just be a team that got hot at the right time?
They got hot at the right time, and then also too like. You know, and I'm not trying to diminish what they accomplished, but the competition that they faced in their region to get to Lakeland was not necessarily overwhelming. Yes.
Well, do they have any like Division I kids on this team at all? Or?
Not that I've seen, but but I mean, I do plan on watching them against Columbus to see, but it's not a game that I see them winning.
Yeah, no, I would be stunned.
I wonder what's the spread.
It would be quite possibly the biggest upset in the history of high school basketball if they were to pull that off.
If there was a spread set, what would you think it would be? Seminole is coming in as the number 4 seed in that bracket.
Yeah, I would say.
I'm gonna say 28.5.
No, I would say higher than that.
Jeez Louise.
It'd be 35 and a half. Because here's the thing: the way I know Seminole is like Seminole's gonna try to get up and down with them. Like they're gonna try to press them and all that stuff. And going up and down with a team full of the
I see what
guys
you're
that
saying.
Columbus has. Like, it could get, you know what I mean? It could get
they're
ugly.
They're not gonna try and like control tempo, minimize possessions, do the things that could keep a game
A little
Yeah.
closer.
tighter.
Yeah.
If they're just gonna go play.
And if that's their game, I mean, you kind of have to kind of continue your game.
Is Nate's brother still the Columbus coach?
Yeah.
Nate.
Moran.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their style, at least from what I have seen the past couple years, it's based on chaos. And one thing Columbus does is they have guys who aren't going to get rattled.
Right.
You know, they have 2 guys going to Duke, 1 guy going to Michigan State, another guy going to Memphis. Like, those guys aren't going to get rattled by pressure. At least not in that setting when they've been thrown every challenge you could be thrown at.
Yeah,
and,
they pretty
and
much
they
seen it all.
they beat Montverde who it's not the Montverde of years past, which is why Boyle is leaving.
I was gonna say that's the other story we need to talk about. Is Kevin Boyle's leaving Montverde.
Yeah, so they're not going to get I mean, this is a team that beat all the best competition that you could find, whether it's in the grind session or at like Geico national caliber teams.
Yeah.
They're, again, and nothing against Seminole. They are just, they're just running up to the equivalent of what France ran into against, or any other team for that matter in the Olympics ran into against Team USA. Like, they are one of the greatest high school teams ever assembled.
I mean, that's the thing. Like I mean, if you kind of like look at high school basketball, like if you look at teams, it's like, okay, if you have, maybe some guys that might play Division II or an AI ball, okay, that's okay. If you have guys, maybe one guy that's going to be maybe a Division I player. There's just levels to it. But if you have a team that has multiple legitimate Division I guys that some of them are going to be pros. Like, it's just different level of basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, Seminole's probably just a really good high school team.
I think
and Columbus is a team of guys that are going to be playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, at least some of them.
At least some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
How good are the Boozer Twins? Are they NBA?
I think the bigger one, and I get their names confused, so I don't want to misspeak, but I think the bigger one is an NBA caliber player. I think the smaller one, the point guard, is a good college player, but I don't see him being an NBA player.
Okay.
What about, like, so you mentioned Monteverde's not what it was, and Boyle's now going to go to Spire Academy. Like, what do you know, like, why he's leaving or why they've kind of maybe not, take a step back, Montverde?
It's easy. The game has changed. People can pay guys now. The NIL stuff is a big thing. You have agents getting involved
on the high school level.
On the high school level, and then, Kevin Boyle's a great X's and O's coach, but the second Ray Miller, his longtime assistant, went to the Magic, the luster kind of faded from that program because Ray was the guy who did all the recruiting, all the for all intents and purposes dirty work to get the players there.
Okay.
And when Ray left, that put a really big hole in that program. And again, this is a business move. Spire is willing to pay kids whatever it takes. Montverde is not really willing to do that. They are an institution of higher education, and they want to try to keep the school component to that. If you start giving basketball kids money, well, you got to start giving the baseball guys money. You just don't want to go too much down that rabbit hole.
And that does beg the next question I was curious about. Like, again, if this is kind of like a shift of priorities at Montverde, like, the question would be who would replace
there's going to be
Boyle.
No shortage of candidates for that job.
But again, if this is an institutional decision maybe to kind of rein that in, it's not the job that you think you're getting.
Yeah, it's I can't speak to what if there is even any NIL at Montverde. My understanding is there's some, but not to to the level that where
to
you
compete
need
with
to
some of these
you
other
know
programs.
correct yeah
Yeah. And if that's not going to change, and you would think that Boyle, having been there for as long as he has, that he probably would have been demanding that or asking that. And if the support's not coming, it becomes easy for him to leave.
Yeah, and then also too, like, I would think, based on what I heard today, there's the compensation package probably has a little bit to do with it. Now, I can tell you at Montverde, he's getting a really, really great deal.
Yeah.
For a high school coach. Now, I would think that to go leave Florida
And go to fucking Ohio.
to go live in the middle of Ohio,
Yeah,
it would
It
take
has to be.
it would take a substantial package. And I'm not a pocket watcher, so I'm not going to give details on what those details could be. But I did hear it from a very prominent member of the basketball community today. We were going back and forth of what he's getting to go there, and I'd leave too. Yeah.
Now, his assistant with the Magic, that's not with the Magic. What position does he hold with the Magic?
He is. He's in the scouting department. I don't know if he's the director of scouting, but he's in the scouting department.
Because I wonder why the Magic go after him and not actually the head coach. You know what I mean?
Ray is. I mean, the guys that were there, like you go back to when Kyrie was at St. Patrick's, where Boyle was before that. Ben, all those guys, R.J. Barrett, Scotty Barnes. You think Kevin Boyle was doing the work to to knock on the doors and go get those kids? No, Ray was. Ray was.
So that makes sense to be a part of a scouting department.
Yeah, if you're scouting. Again,
Yeah.
if
Just
you're,
know that when Ray went into a living room, like, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, you had no chance. You had no chance.
To get, if you were another school, to get that player.
Yeah, correct.
Wow.
And Ray's track record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
That's dope. No, that's really dope.
Plus, if you look at it from that perspective too, like you have a guy that does have existing relationships with like a lot of high-end NBA people
Anyhow,
already from
so it's
going back to when they were young
No, that's a great point.
and arguably impressionable in that regard.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. All right, well, we've gone over, so we got to call it quits.
All right.
All right, we'll catch you guys next week. You've been on the bench.